And now, the most reasonable talk show host from Sop Choppy to the Redneck Riviera, here is Bob Kerrigan.
And good evening. Welcome to Within Reason, broadcast live at 7 o'clock here on this station. We're glad to have you with us and hope that you'll join us each week for Within Reason. The story that front page of the New York Times Sunday, huge story, we're going to talk about it tonight, is how the Pentagon rigged up and paid off a whole list of military analysts and then unleashed them on all the programs that would air them, like Fox News, the primary offender. And this in-depth analysis by the New York Times, which I'll go to in a few minutes here tonight, talks about the contracting interests of these so-called neutral military observers. I swear, I am so naive. Looking at these people on television, I mean, I assumed that even not Fox necessarily. I figured Fox would just go pick somebody they thought agreed with them, but that's the way they do the news. But I thought other cable stations and certainly the major networks picked these people because of their distinguished military backgrounds and asked them to help the viewers understand this, that, or the other. Well, as it turns out, this has all just been a big fraud. Virtually all of these people appearing on these television programs and radio talk shows had glaring conflicts of interest, have been courted by the Pentagon, have been cleared by Rumsfeld himself to participate in this overall scheme to defraud the American people about what was going on in our military conflicts. And the rest of us watched all of this and saw these people, and there was no disclosure. There was no disclosure that these men had direct conflicts of interest in securing military contracts for companies they were working for. So they were sucking up to the Pentagon, running the Pentagon story, and it was a story for the most part to the American people. A twist. We'll get actual quotes here in a minute, how they spun this up to make it tell the story that the Pentagon wanted to tell. Got all of that done while these men were working for companies that turned right around and called the Pentagon soliciting contracts or getting contracts for military defense. It's just sick. It's just sick. The networks are all saying, well, gosh, golly, we didn't know. We didn't know. I mean, these people were flown on private jets by Dick Cheney, of Dick Cheney's, used for the vice president, given a special tour of Guantanamo Bay, if you can imagine that, a special tour to twist up their version of it so they could come back and say how great everything was, and complete distortions across the board on virtually everything that was going on in Iraq. But as they would have these people appear on these talk programs and appear to be independent and neutral, they would evaluate them. Now, is anybody opposed to making the next final and, next reasonable step, which be if they did really well, that their companies got Pentagon contracts? And this sick symbiotic relationship between military contractors getting rich from the Iraq War, retired generals getting paid handsomely to promote the Pentagon's version of events, and none of it was neutral or fair or balanced, or very little, let me say that. There might have been some. There might have been an occasional person that appeared on one of these shows that wasn't involved in this. That's certainly possible. But the vast majority were all paid to prop this stuff up and make it look like it was fair and balanced. The Pentagon spends a lot of your money, but a lot of your money is spent spinning up their version of what's going on to convince you that this war machine is really an effective, efficient, and necessary operation. You should understand this. President Bush has been very clear about this. Remember when he explained it to us? They hate freedom. We love freedom. Hate freedom, love freedom. That's what we're looking at here. And those people who hate freedom, they support terror. Terror is bad. See these people over here who love freedom? They don't support terror. Well, not exactly. We do support terror. We support terror against people we don't like the Cubans. And that's why we supported Cuban terrorists who killed the Cuban people. Blew up an airliner with 76 people on board, including the Cuban fencing team. But those terrorists that did it are good friends of the Bushes and have been big supporters of the Bushes in southeast Florida and responsible for a block of votes which got President Bush elected. So here's the problem. You people don't understand this because it's too complicated. It's too complicated. If you are against, say, a Republican and you're in Indonesia, you're a terrorist, okay? That's pretty clear. I mean, that part we got. But if you care about killing innocent people in Cuba, for example, but you're not, and you don't understand that the Bushes need those terrorists and the people that support them to get elected to public office, therefore, they're by definition not terrorists. But that's confusing too, because the State Department, listed people like Orlando Bosch as a terrorist. So I'm getting confused now. I mean, but they're listed as terrorists, and yet we keep them in this country and we protect them because they're so important to the Bushes to get people elected. In southeast Florida, they had that block of votes, and they handed the election to George W. Bush, although he partly stole it. They handed it to him, and they were responsible for the worst governor in Florida's history, Jeb Bush. So this whole thing about terror can only really be understood by the Bush family, including Neil, the guy that's been the prisoner guy, Neil Bush. The Bushes are the only ones that really have a good picture. But so if you have a question about terror, you need to write to any of the Bush family. Let's go. I wanted to read this New York Times editorial quickly before we go tonight. This is about the torture sessions. Ever since Americans learned that American soldiers' intelligence agents were torturing prisoners, have been a disturbing question: how high up did the decision go to ignore United States law, international treaties, the Geneva Conventions, and basic morality? We have long known that the Justice Department tortured the law to give its Orwellian blessing to torturing people. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld approved a list of ways to abuse prisoners, but recent accounts by ABC News and the Associated Press said that all the president's top national security advisors at the time participated in creating the interrogation policy. Vice President Dick Cheney, Rumsfeld, Condoleezza Rice, National Security Advisor Colin Powell, Secretary of State at the time John Ashcroft, and George Tenet from the CIA, they were all there and discussed this. President Bush told ABC this month that he knew of those meetings and approved of the result. These people met in the White House, in the Situation Room, to talk about how to torture people. Some will call this a backward-looking distraction, but only by fully understanding what Mr. Bush has done over 8 years to distort the rule of law and violate civil liberties and human rights can Americans ever hope to repair the damage and ensure it does not happen again. That is our goal, to ensure that no person ever elected to be President of the United States will ever again do what George W. Bush has done, what Dick Cheney has done. It's reprehensible and disgraceful. I cannot think of enough adjectives to describe their conduct and what it's done to our country and to our people. And I'm counting the days till they're gone, and I hope you agree. Thank you for joining me Within Reason. We'll be back next Wednesday at 7. This program is rebroadcast on Friday. You can check your listing for it, and thanks for watching.